Two breaking stories right now at 7. First, a gas leak shuts down a busy section of 1010 Road. An update on its repair. And Sky 5 over a large brush fire that closed nearby roads and impacted a local nursing home.
The potential for severe storms is triggering a WRAL weather alert day. Strong winds, heavy rain, and the threat of tornadoes. I'll walk you through what you can expect town by town.
Let's start here, though. Check out the work being done, the backup tonight on US 401, a gas leak in Fuquay Varina, forcing crews to close the highway there. Now folks are just sitting in it. Man, businesses at some points had to be evacuated as well. It's a bit of a mess. Thank you for being with us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. That is one long lineup of vehicles. It's all unfolding at the 1010 Road intersection. First responders and gas company employees are at the scene, and so is WRAL's Aaron Thomas. Aaron, it could be a while before this is all fixed.
Yeah, just within the past 5 minutes, we heard DOT crews saying that it could be well until after 9 o'clock tonight until this gas line is repaired. Let's take you live into the action. You can see those crews that are actively working to repair this gas line. We're told by Enbridge Gas, they said that they're trying to get under 17 feet of cover and asphalt to access that damaged gas line. Now, this all happened at about 4:30 this afternoon. As a result, did prompt several businesses to close. You know, this is a busy area that usually has people at the area Costco to shop. There's a Food Lion. There's different restaurants where people can eat. We're now also standing in the dark because just past 20 minutes, they shut down the power as a safety precaution. We did have Sky 5 fly over this busy stretch of road 401, and you can see the massive backups because, you know, a lot of that travel taking place during the evening commute. So this still is an active investigation. We've seen those investigators, those first responders working to redirect traffic. So the warning for several people that live in the area, you're asked to shelter in place, and if you're a driver, you're asked to avoid the area until some of these repairs are completed. Aaron Thomas, WRAL News, live in Wake County.
And this is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center following another big traffic problem right now. A crash that has closed a section of Capitol Boulevard on the north side of central Raleigh. I want to take you to some video from Sky 5 shot in the past 40 minutes or so. And you can see those southbound lanes are closed at Hodges Street. Raleigh police tell us this was a 3-vehicle accident. One person was taken to the hospital with injuries. We do know that some power lines came down also in this crash, so it's going to be kind of an involved process to get that section of Capitol Boulevard cleared. Here's a look at it on the map. There's 440. Here's Capitol Boulevard, and you can see those big delays there right there at the Hodges Street interchange. You could consider using Atlantic or Wake Forest Road. They're diverting traffic right now to Yonkers Road down to Raleigh Boulevard to take it into downtown.
All right, Brian, thank you. Busy night on the roads. How about this helmet camera video here from the Carolina forest fire in South Carolina? More than 1,600 acres have burned so far, only 30% contained at this hour. And it's not just South Carolina. More than 3,000 acres have burned in North Carolina in the last week. There was a fire that popped up just today in Fayetteville. WRAL's Julian Grace from Rockfish Road to give us an update on the efforts there. Julia.
Dan, the smoke, you can still smell it, but that fire is long gone. That was not the case earlier today as we had Sky 5 in the air. Let's take a look as crews were working away on the ground. Officers were also at the intersection, closing major intersections and also business plazas at that time as crews continued to work away, trying to put out that fire. Then shortly before 5, it was all extinguished. That said, though, there are some businesses that have been impacted. Coming up later tonight at 10 and 11, you will hear about that impact, and some are wondering, could this repeat itself tomorrow? That's all new later tonight at 10 and 11. For now, reporting live in Fayetteville, Julian Grace, WRAL News.
All right, thanks to Julian. As he said, an increased fire danger in our area. But, Kat, come Wednesday, we are in for some rain. So much, in fact, it's going to be a WRAL weather alert day.
Correct. And we're going to be dealing with the threat for a few strong to severe storms between about 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. There's a level 2 risk for our entire viewing area. Damaging winds will be the primary threat, but there is also a low-end tornado threat. The tornado threat's going to be higher tomorrow for the areas in orange. That's where there's there's a level 3 severe weather threat with our first big severe storm system of meteorological spring. The threat shifts east as we head into Wednesday, and we are expecting a level 2 threat for most of our area and most of North Carolina. The timing on this could start to ramp up late morning, 8-9 a.m. We start to see the chance for storms going up, the chance peaking at 90% 10 a.m. through noon, and then beginning to back off a bit later on in the day. Coming up, we'll have a closer look at the wind forecast. It's going to be windy all day long.
All right, Kat, thank you. Let's get you caught up with today's other big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. The men charged with trafficking a Siler City teen appeared in front of a judge today. A judge denied bond for both Ronnie Suarez and Saul Ramirez Guevara, believing both to be public threats. More charges are expected for both suspects. We've learned one of the names of the 5 people killed in a car crash over the weekend in Lee County. This happened yesterday morning on Colon Road. 20-year-old Jonathan Posadas owned the car. Highway Patrol says the driver was speeding, veered off the road, and hit a tree. Family and friends have since left flowers at the scene. We're still trying to get more information about the other 4 victims.
The police are searching for whoever shot into a Raleigh apartment this afternoon. We had Sky 5 over that scene at one point, right at Amber Ridge Lane. It was around 2 o'clock. Police tell us that no one was injured, and the suspect left the scene before officers could arrive. There are more bird flu cases confirmed in North Carolina, this time in Dare County. The state says a backyard flock of chickens tested positive. We've also seen bird flu pop up in Sampson and Hyde counties, and an owl that tested positive in Wake County for bird flu. So the Tar Heels will have 3, count them 3, Belichicks on the sideline this fall. Today we learned Bill's youngest son, Brian, will coach the defensive backs. His older son, Steve, was announced as the defensive coordinator a while back.
So we are just a few hours away from tariffs taking effect on Mexico and Canada. President Trump said so this afternoon. Remember, the president first introduced this in February, but then it delayed it for a month when the White House made deals with both countries. Well, that month-long delay ends at midnight. It's been a while since we last talked about these tariffs, and there have been some changes. So let's review.
Order up.
The tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China stem from 3 executive orders issued last month. They talk about imposing duties to address illegal drugs, the opioid crisis, and the situation at the border. At first, the plan was 25% tariffs each for Mexico and Canada, and then a 10% tariff on China. But then Mexico sent 10,000 more troops to the southern border, and Canada spent $1 billion to beef up their border. So tariffs on both countries got delayed. The 10% tariff on China, on the other hand, went through. But those tariffs on China are set to rise to 20% tonight. And China's foreign ministry is looking at counter tariffs. U.S. agricultural and food products will most likely be listed. China will take all necessary measures to firmly safeguard our legitimate rights and interests, says a spokesperson. Today, President Trump said the number will be 25% for Mexico and Canada. Now, keep in mind, Mexico had been trying to stay in the president's good graces. The country sent 29 prisoners involved with drug cartels to the United States to be imprisoned on American soil. They've also offered to put their own tariffs on China, matching what the White House has done so far, but apparently that wasn't good enough. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, said, "We will make our decisions, and there is a plan, and there is unity in Mexico." As for Canada, their Minister of Energy and Natural Resources said they too have a plan. He told CNBC that Canada would retaliate with tariffs on the U.S. He said they would focus on things like orange juice and bourbon, not really energy or critical minerals. We've seen some 11th hour deals before, but as it stands, these tariffs are happening. And here's a list of items that may get more expensive as a result. Cars, car parts, produce like avocados, oil, aluminum, steel, electronics. We can't forget why the president is proposing these tariffs. It's about raising revenue to pay off national debt and bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States. It's also about disrupting the status quo to renegotiate deals like the USMCA. Nobody has a crystal ball, right? Will tariffs achieve these goals? It's unclear. Economists across the political spectrum have told us for months that the short-term consequences will likely be felt at the grocery store, at the dealership, at the gas pump. But will that short-term pain turn into long-term gain for Americans? The answer might not come for a while.
The White House is trying all kinds of things, though, to address the economy and the national debt. One of them is actually something Biden and Trump agreed on. It's called a sovereign wealth fund. Other countries do this. Why not the U.S.? We should go in depth. How about that after the break? Tonight's mailbag will focus on just one topic. It's a little complicated, very interesting, and it could be amazing or terrible. It's probably going to be one of those two things. So let's talk sovereign wealth funds. So a few weeks ago, President Trump signed an executive order to create a sovereign wealth fund, and he thinks it could be a real game changer.
We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth.
Yeah, my kids are always de-wealthing me. All right. So what is a sovereign wealth fund? How does it create a lot of wealth? And if they're so darn wonderful, why don't we have one already? Well, you can think of it simply as a government-backed investment account. Lots of countries have them, and the big ones are worth trillions of dollars. Norway, China, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and a whole bunch of others. Now, you may notice something as you take a look at the flags there that Ken figured out. If you were named Ken, he said, quote, nearly all sovereign wealth funds get their funding from the sale of some finite asset, such as oil or land. And he's exactly right about that. See, these funds originated, they first got going in oil-rich countries because oil makes you rich. So every year they made tons and tons of money, and it piled up. The cash was in a vault like Scrooge McDuck. But as any good financial planner or TikToker will tell you, it's better to put your money to work for you, to invest it. Norway's fund started doing this. It started in the late 90s. They took their oil money, paid all their bills, then they invested the rest. And today it's worth nearly $2 trillion. Now, if the U.S. created something like that, it could use that revenue to do so many wonderful things. Fund Social Security, education, healthcare, VA hospitals, roads, bridges, the list goes on and on. Take your pick. But as another viewer noticed, the U.S. isn't stockpiling money, are we? We're not one of those oil-rich countries. When we're done paying our bills, we don't have any leftover money to invest. We're broke. Peter asked, how does this fund work when we have such a tremendous debt burden as a nation? And it is a really valid and good question. So basically, we're going to have to take money that would go to the debt and invest it instead. And it's not really clear where that money is going to come from. Tariffs, maybe, selling government assets, things like land, or borrowing it. I talked to NC State professor Mark Nance about how that might work.
Wherever the money comes from, instead of paying down that debt, we're investing it. And you're right that in the long run, what we're doing is betting that the returns on the investment are worth more than the opportunity cost of paying down the debt that we have.
Okay, so if we don't have the money in the traditional sense, the way that it's working for these other countries, and therefore we have increased risk as we invest the money we don't have, why does Trump want to do this? Why did Biden want to do this? Here's a story from before the election. Biden aides working on proposal for U.S. sovereign wealth fund. All right, they both wanted it. Well, that takes us to another major function of one of these funds, and that's influence. A viewer named Gordon had some concerns about this. He said, quote, sounds like a Trump slush fund that could be used to bypass congressional oversight or a gimmick to influence the stock market. And that might sound like these extreme examples, but they are some of the primary concerns held on both sides of the aisle with this issue, especially considering that government can already influence industry with tax breaks and grants and subsidies and that sort of thing. But traditionally, they go through Congress to do that. I spoke to someone from the Cato Institute about this part of the conversation.
Anything the federal government wants to accomplish, it can do so by going through Congress and authorizing spending for any particular program or priority that the president might have. A sovereign wealth fund seems like an unnecessary and illegitimate workaround to give the executive powers that should be properly reserved for Congress.
Now, pause 20-second for a second here, because I can feel you getting ready to send me an email with the title liberal hack or something like that. But I need to stress that the woman who you just saw getting interviewed there, who we talked to, is no liberal. Before she was with Cato, she was a director at the Heritage Foundation, you know, the right-wing think tank that developed Project 2025. And critics like her fear a bigger, more powerful executive branch with the potential for direct influence on private industry, regardless of the person or the party in the White House, could be a problem.
This becomes an avenue for corruption very easily, and it becomes for political favoritism. And so it really is this going to be run neutrally? Is this going to be run in a way that's to the political advantage of those in charge of it? And that's beyond the more basic point of this involving government picking winners and losers, which conservatives in particular have long sort of railed against.
So these are all important topics, but not really the most important question. For that one, we go to an email from a viewer named Chris. He asked who would control this fund and determine how it is spent. And right now, we have no idea. And until we do know those details, it really is hard to judge the pros and cons. According to the White House, the Secretary of the Treasury and the Secretary of Commerce will work with the President for economic policy to develop a plan. And you would think that a plan like that would then work its way through Congress, but who knows nowadays? We did an Order Up segment on this topic a couple weeks ago. It's on the WRAL YouTube page. My tie is crooked. You can watch it anytime you'd like. But, you know, between that story and this one, we've really only scratched the surface. I mean, this is a gigantic story, a lot of different avenues to go down. So if you're interested and you want to learn some more, just let me know. Email dan@WRAL.com. Tell me what's on your mind, and we will go in depth.
Yeah, there is so much to unpack there, Dan. Let's get back over to Kat now, because Kat, we've got quite a weather week ahead with a WRAL Weather Alert Day on Wednesday.
Yes, we do. We've got Wednesday's WRAL Weather Alert Day due to the threat for some strong to severe storms. And then we also have very windy conditions all week long, or at least through Thursday. So hold on to your hats, secure your loose outdoor items. It's March, and after all, March is on average our windiest month of the year, averaging at over 8 miles per hour. April not far behind it in terms of the winds, and we've got a couple of these blustery days ahead. Tomorrow, winds could gust up to about 30 miles per hour, and on Wednesday, we're looking at a sustained wind closer to 20 miles per hour with some gusts in the 40 to 45 mile per hour range. Keep in mind, that's even outside of the thunderstorm risk. Within thunderstorms, if they're severe, winds could gust up to 60 miles per hour on Wednesday. So it's really going to be a windy Wednesday ahead. That's one of the reasons why it's a WRAL Weather Alert Day, with maximum wind gust potential in that 40 to 45 mile an hour range. Tomorrow's severe weather threat centered right in this region. 57 million people at risk for severe storms, and that risk 67 million on Wednesday, even though the threat level is a 2 instead of a 3. We're right in the heart of it. So let's take a look at the timing. This could start as we head into Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. in the western part of our viewing area. It looks like it would be a little bit later than that, late morning through lunchtime around the Triangle, and in our eastern counties, lunchtime through about 2 or 3 o'clock. Now, keep in mind, this could change. We're going to continue to get in high-resolution model data, so it could shift around by an hour or two, but I wouldn't expect any huge deviations from that timeline. A live look at the downtown Cary Park tonight. Very quiet out there. 46 degrees there in Cary at the moment, 47 in Holly Springs and Gardner, 45 up toward Wake Forest and Rollsville. Tomorrow morning at the bus stop, it is going to be chilly again. Make sure your kids have an extra layer. Temperatures will be in the low to mid 30s. But tomorrow afternoon, look at the recovery, 68 degrees. That's thanks to that pretty strong south wind that begins to ramp up tomorrow. So it ends up being pretty nice out there for the kids that are heading home. Maybe let them do their homework outside. Nice for outdoor practices. Wednesday, a different story with the chance for some strong storms to roll through. Even after that main line clears by about 3 o'clock, we could actually see a final band of some additional showers and non-severe storms in the evening, and that would be as the front itself passes. Thursday, it's windy again, and this time a cooling wind for us will drop back down to 35 that night. Then temperatures rebound, more of these ups and downs ahead. Saturday, 72. It looks like most of the rain would hold off until late Saturday into early Sunday. So if that's the case, and we can get that rain to hold off, 2 Saturdays in the 70s in a row, potentially.
Exactly. Pretty nice. Thank you, Kat. A man who went to school in North Carolina won an Oscar last night. Did you see it? A historic win for multiple reasons. We'll talk about it in tonight's One Last Thing. One last thing to mention tonight. You may not have watched all the movies, but maybe you watched the Oscars anyway. Maybe you saw one of the big winners last night has a North Carolina connection.
This person graduated from UNC School of Arts. Paul Tazwell won the award for Best Costume Design for the movie Wicked. Tazwell graduated from UNCSA in 1986. Probably doesn't want us to age him like that. He looks great. Here's a clip from his acceptance speech that was beautiful last night.
I'm the first black man to receive the Costume Design Award for my work on Wicked.
Great moment.
Tazwell was nominated in the same category in 2021 for his work on West Side Story. This time he won, making him the first UNCSA graduate to win an Oscar as well.
And the costumes were beautiful. He deserved to win. Really great work. Thank you for being with us tonight here on WRAL News.
Have a great night.